Many years ago, when Vida first moved into the compound, nobody expected peace to follow her. In fact, the compound had never known peace before she arrived. On that fateful day, Vida arrived with 2 suitcases, 1 mattress, and a face that looked like it did not have time for nonsense. She greeted everyone politely on the first day. "Good evening, ma. Good evening, sir." She smiled, unpacked, and closed her door. Well, that was the beginning of suspicion. By the third day, Mama Banke had already concluded. She's too quiet. Stella agreed immediately. Yes, nobody is that quiet unless they are calculating. Vida did not even know that she had already been discussed in 3 separate corners of the compound. In the evenings, women usually gathered outside with plastic chairs. They discussed everything with equal seriousness. Whose husband came home late? Who cooked watery soup? Who had visitors? And who did not greet properly? Stella was the unofficial chairman of this evening committee. She did not have a title, but she had volume. One evening, she called out, "Vida, come and sit with us." Vida came outside, stood for a few seconds, and then said calmly, "Thank you, but I do not like drama. I prefer to stay inside." Mama Banke blinked. "Drama? We are not fighting." Stella laughed lightly. "Maybe she thinks we are jobless." Vida smiled and said, "No, I just prefer my room." With that, she went inside. But that sentence entered Stella's heart and refused to leave. After that day, every movement of Vida became monitored. If she returned from work early, someone would whisper, "Is her office closed?" If she dressed well, someone would ask, "Who is she dressing for?" If she ordered food delivery, somebody would say, "So she has money." But Vida did not respond. She worked in a small private company on the island, so she left early every morning and returned tired. She cooked, read, and slept peacefully. On Sundays, she went to church and came back quietly. Unfortunately, the more she refused to engage, the more the compound tried to engage her. One afternoon, Stella knocked on her door holding a bowl. "Please, I need salt," Stella said. Vida gave her salt. The next day, Stella returned. "Please, do you have tomatoes?" Vida gave her tomatoes. The third day, Stella returned again. "Please, can I sit in your room small? My light is bad." Vida smiled politely and said, "I am about to sleep." Stella stood there for 3 seconds waiting for an invitation that never came. From that day, Stella concluded that Vida was proud, but Vida couldn't be bothered. For several months, she avoided drama intentionally. She did not attend their naming ceremonies inside the compound. She did not join birthday contributions. Even when someone tried to start gossip in front of her, she would calmly say, "I do not know about that," and then excuse herself. One evening, Stella said loudly outside, "Some people think they are better than everybody." Mama Banke nodded. "Too much forming." Vida heard them, but she did not respond. For the longest, she was safe until trouble found her. Vida had been planning to buy herself a good wig. Not roadside quality, not the one that starts shedding after 2 weeks. She wanted something expensive, something that would sit on her head and scream, "I worked for this." So, for 6 months, she saved small money. She reduced buying shawarma. She stopped impulse shopping. She even ignored a fine pair of sandals because she had a goal. Finally, one Saturday afternoon, she returned from town holding a bag like gold. Inside was the wig. It was long, soft, and full. You know those wigs that move before you move? Ew, luxury. She locked her door, stood in front of the mirror, and wore it carefully. She turned left, turned right, and gasped, "Ha! Vida, you have arrived." The next day, she wore it to church. Even some choir members paused as they were singing. Stella's mouth opened slightly immediately she saw the wig. After service, Stella approached her with artificial sweetness. Vida, this hair is different. Vida smiled. Yes, it is. How much did it cost? Vida smiled. It was not cheap. Stella laughed small. It is giving somebody. Vida replied calmly. It is giving hard work. The conversation ended there, but Stella's spirit did not. The following afternoon, Vida wanted to treat the wig correctly like a newborn child. So, she placed it on a clean plastic stool outside her room to air properly. The sun was soft and the breeze was mild. She stood there admiring it. I bought you with my sweat, she said proudly. She then went inside to prepare food. Meanwhile, coincidentally, the landlord's goat was roaming freely. This goat had history. It had eaten Eba before. It had eaten slippers. Even a contract letter, it had eaten it. Nobody disciplined the goat seriously because the landlord always said it is an animal. The moment the goat passed by Vida's door, it stopped, sniffed and stared at the wig. Perhaps in the goat's mind, the wig looked like fresh grass or maybe imported grass, hence the color. Before anyone could say cha, the goat grabbed the wig between its teeth. Inside the room, Vida was slicing onions when a small child shouted outside, "Auntie Vida, goat, goat!" Vida ran out and froze. The goat stood proudly with half of her wig in its mouth, chewing slowly as if it paid installments. For 3 seconds, the world stopped. Then Vida screamed, "You mad goat!" The goat ran and Vida ran after it without calculation. She forgot she was wearing only wrapper and singlet. She forgot dignity. She forgot that she hated drama. She chased that goat across the compound like a police chasing a suspect. "Drop that wig!" Children began laughing. Mama Banker came outside. "What is happening?" Stella too stepped out. She saw the scene, but she did not shout. She immediately pressed record on her phone. The goat ran past the tap. Vida almost slipped but recovered. She grabbed the goat's tail, but the goat bleated loudly and ran harder. Vida's slippers flew off, her wrapper loosened slightly. She held it with one hand and continued chasing with the other hand. The compound had become a cinema. "Hey, Netflix can never," someone shouted. The goat turned sharply. Unfortunately, Vida couldn't turn sharply too, so she fell into the dust and the wig hung from the goat's mouth like a trophy. Finally, Vida grabbed the wig forcefully and stood up breathing heavily. The wig was wet. Saliva decorated it. Its pride was gone. She looked around and saw that everyone was staring at her. Stella lowered her phone slowly, hiding her smile. Vida said nothing. She just walked inside quietly, carrying the injured wig like a fallen soldier. Behind her, laughter erupted. Stella looked at her screen and whispered, "Premium content." Inside her room, Vida locked the door gently. She placed the wig on the table. It looked different now. The bouncing movement had reduced. The shine had disappeared. One edge looked like it had seen a battle. She stared at it. "That's gold." She washed it, conditioned it and combed it carefully. The wig survived, but its dignity was gone. Meanwhile, outside, Stella did not waste time. She sent the video to the compound WhatsApp group first with the caption, "The drama-free one when goats offended her," laughing emoji. Within seconds, messages began to drop. Is this Vida? So she can run like this? Goat wrestler. Mama Banker added laughing emojis that refused to stop. One man wrote, "This is why I don't trust quiet people." Stella smiled. She then forwarded it to her church women's group, then to her cousin, then to her former secondary school group. The video moved like gossip without wings. Inside her room, Vida's phone began to vibrate. She ignored it, but when it vibrated again and again, she finally picked it up, only to see 27 missed calls and 52 messages. She opened one. It was from her colleague who wrote, "Madam Goat Hunter." Vida blinked. How come? Another message read, "Why are you fighting animal?" Another one read, "You hate drama, but you are WWE champion." Her stomach dropped. She clicked the attached video to watch and was shocked to see herself and the goats in a royal tumble. But that was not what even shocked her. What shocked her was that the video began from the moment she screamed. It did not show the goats chewing her wig first. It did not show the children laughing before she reacted. It just showed her charging towards the goat like a wrestler. It showed her falling dramatically in slow motion. Someone had even added background music. She watched herself on the screen. She did not look calm at all. She did not look dignified. She looked wild. Her throat tightened. Still, she replayed it. The video had definitely been cropped. She knew immediately who could have recorded her like this. Stella. Outside, Stella sat proudly in front of her room as neighbors discussed. Stella, send it again. She sent the video again. Women gathered around her phone. Play the falling parts again. She replayed the fall and laughter exploded again. By evening, the video had escaped the compound completely. Someone had posted it on a local blog page with the caption, "Serious lady turns to lion over a goat." The comment section was merciless. "See anger issues. She needs deliverance. See her rapper." One comment said, "People that say they hate drama are always the drama." Kai, that one stung. At night, Vida's former university group started forwarding it. "Is this not you?" someone asked, but she did not respond. She turned off her phone. The next morning, the compound energy changed. One boy bleated when she passed. Meh. Another ran in front of her, pretending to chew an imaginary wig. Vida looked straight ahead and walked. Mama Banke greeted her loudly. "Good morning, Goat Commander." Laughter followed. Vida stopped briefly and looked at Mama Banke calmly. "Good morning, ma." Then she continued walking, but inside, her chest was tight. At her workplace, it became even worse. Her supervisor called her into the office that morning. "I saw something online," he said. Her heart pounded. "It's just a misunderstanding, sir," she said carefully. Her supervisor sighed. "We were considering you for public representation soon, but this kind of video..." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. She understood. Reputation is delicate. She returned to her desk quietly. Her colleague leaned over and smirked. "You can run, Sha." Vida forced a small smile. That evening, she returned home exhausted, but the compound was still very much lively. Stella greeted her sweetly. "Vida, how is your wig?" Vida paused. She looked at her directly for the first time since after the incident and replied calmly, "It is recovering." Stella laughed. "You ran well that day, oh." Vida studied her face and said, "Yes, I did." She entered her room without another word. Inside, she sat down slowly and looked at her undignified wig. She took her phone, opened her message list and scrolled. That was when she saw that a neighbor had sent her the original full clip privately with the message, "I feel bad. This is the full video." She opened it. It was 2 minutes long. It showed clearly the goat chewing first, her shock, and the children shouting before she reacted. The difference was obvious. Her image had been cut to shape a dramatic narrative. Her peaceful identity had been sliced into entertainment. She leaned back against the wall slowly and whispered, "So, this is how it works." Outside, Stella was still enjoying her moments. She sat on a plastic chair like a film director reviewing her masterpiece. People kept walking up to her. "Send it again." She would laugh modestly. It's not that serious." And then she would send it again. Mama Banke shook her head dramatically. "Ha! This compound has seen episodes. One young man added, she nearly killed that goat. Stella corrected proudly. No, the goats nearly killed her wig. They laughed more. Meanwhile, inside her room, Vida remained quiet. She did not storm outside. She did not post any explanation online. Neither did she type a long status defending herself. She just saved both videos, the original one and the edited one. She placed them side by side and watched them carefully. The edited version was 38 seconds, while the original was 2 minutes 12 seconds. In the edited version, her scream sounded aggressive, but in the original version, her scream sounded shocked. Context had been deliberately removed. She zoomed in, and that was when she heard Stella's voice from the background of the full clip. Record it oh. Vida sat upright. That was not an accidental recording. That was intentional. Her phone vibrated again. This time, it was her church youth leader. Vida, are you okay? Yes, I am, Vida replied. People are talking. I know, Vida replied. The youth leader went on to say, we were considering you to coordinate the ladies' seminar next month. Vida paused. Yes, but he continued, there are concerns about your temperament. The word temperament felt like a slap. Vida replied, I understand. After the call ended, she placed her phone on the table slowly. This drama had cost her too much already. Outside, Stella was still narrating the story differently. You people don't know how. She pretends too much. Mama Banker leaned closer. So, she has been hiding anger all along. Stella lowered her voice slightly for effect. You know, some people like to behave like angels. This narrative was growing without permission. That night, the landlord himself, the owner of the goats, called out from the corridor, Vida! Vida stepped outside calmly. Yes, sir. He scratched his head and said, you know, goats behave like goats. Vida stared at him. Yes. The landlord continued, so let's not make a small issue big, right? Small issue? Vida looked at him directly. Sir, your goat destroyed something expensive. The landlord shifted slightly. How much can a wig cost? Vida did not answer. The landlord waved dismissively. We'll talk later. And then he walked away. Outside, Stella was watching from her door with satisfaction. Vida returned inside. She stood in front of the mirror and placed the wig gently on her table. It still looked beautiful and manageable, but her own reputation had been damaged. And then, the next morning, something new happened. The video appeared on a small Instagram blog page. The caption was worse. Serious face auntie turns WWE champion over goats. The comment section was cruel. She needs a husband. This is what single frustration looks like. See anger. Ew. Vida read one comment twice. Single frustration. How? She closed the app immediately. Now, the narrative had shifted from goat's incidents to her personal life. Her singleness was now being used as the explanation. Her calmness was now suspicious. Her dignity had become public property. She sat on her bed quietly and breathed slowly. She could ignore the compound gossip, but this had gone outside. It had entered strangers' mouths, and strangers are fearless. Outside, Stella was still feeling powerful. She received phone calls too. Is this not your compound? Yes, so she would say, who is that woman? She would sigh dramatically and say, she's just like that, oh, one neighbor like that. Just like that? By afternoon, one of the compound children knocked on Vida's door. Auntie, mommy said sorry. Vida opened the door. For what? For laughing. Vida smiled faintly. It is fine. The child hesitated and said, Auntie Stella said you shouted at the goat because you are an angry person. Vida nodded slowly. Did you see me shout before the goat chewed my wig? The child thought for a second and then said, no. Good, Vida said. The child ran off. However, that small conversation confirmed something important. The children had seen the full version, while the adults preferred the edited one. She picked up her phone again and scrolled to the neighbor who sent her the original clip. Please send me that full video again. Within seconds, the video arrived. She watched it one more time, and then this time she posted the full version on her status without any caption or explanation. Just the full clip. Within minutes, responses began. So the goat started it. They edited the video. This is different now. Mama Banker's daughter replied privately. Mommy only saw the short video. Of course she did, because Stella only shared the short one. Outside, Stella's phone began vibrating rapidly. She opened her WhatsApp and saw that people were forwarding the full clip to her. Why did you cut it? Why did you not post this one? Her smile faded slightly. She walked outside pretending to be calm, and Vida stepped out at the same moment. Their eyes met, but this time Vida spoke first. She said, "Content has context." Stella laughed awkwardly. It was just a joke now. Vida shook her head. Jokes do not remove evidence. People nearby pretended not to listen, but everyone was listening, and they did what compounds do best. They waited for escalation. But unfortunately, escalation did not come immediately. Vida went back inside without saying a thing more. But that silence disturbed Stella more than shouting would have. That evening, Vida walked to the landlord's door and knocked. The landlord opened the door lazily. "Yes, I would like a compound meeting," she said. "For what?" the man asked. "For clarification." The landlord scratched his head. "About goats?" Vida nodded. "Yes." He hesitated because meetings usually meant noise, but the video had already reached places he did not like. Even his cousin had called him earlier to say, "Your goat is trending, oh." So he agreed. "Okay, tomorrow evening." The news spread quickly. There will be a meeting about the video, about the goats. Stella pretended she did not care and said loudly, "It is too much now over small issue." But she did not sleep well that night. The next evening, chairs were arranged outside. Even those who usually avoided meetings attended because curiosity was free entertainment. Vida came out neatly dressed with the wig. Stella arrived slightly later, trying to look relaxed. The landlord cleared his throat. "We are here because of misunderstanding." Vida stood up slowly and corrected. "No, it is not a misunderstanding. It was editing." Everyone leaned forward. She held up her phone. "I will play 2 clips." First, she played the edited version. People laughed nervously. Then, she played the full version. There was silence. In the full version, Stella's voice could be heard faintly saying, "Record, record." The difference was obvious. One elderly man coughed. So, the goat started it. Mama Banker shifted in her chair. Stella's smile froze. Vida spoke clearly now. "I don't hate laughter. I hate lies." That video removed context. It damaged my image. It reached my workplace, and it cost me opportunity. The word cost hung heavily in the air. She turned towards Stella directly. "You recorded me. You edited it intentionally and you posted it." Stella laughed weakly. "It was just fun." Viva nodded. "Fun? Fun that removes evidence?" Someone from the back said, "Why did you cut only the beginning?" Stella swallowed hard. I did not think it mattered." Viva looked at the group. "Well, it did matter." The landlord finally spoke. "It was my goat that caused this damage." "Yes," Vida continued. "The wig cost wig, and the humiliation cost my reputation." The compound was quiet now. Nobody was laughing again. One woman whispered, "It was too much, oh." Another person replied, "We judged her quickly." Stella tried again. You are overreacting now." Vida interrupted her. "If it was small, why did you edit it?" That question did not need shouting. It needed an answer, and Stella had none. The landlord cleared his throat again and said, "I will compensate for the wig." He looked at Vida reluctantly and asked, "How much?" She told him and his eyes widened. "Ah, that is too much for wig now." Vida looked at him steadily. "It was not meant for goats." He exhaled heavily. "Okay, we'll discuss the payments." Then something unexpected happened. One of the women stood up and said, "I shared the video without knowing the full story. I apologize. I am really sorry." Another one added, "Me too, I'm sorry." Stella sat still. The spotlight had shifted. She had enjoyed attention 2 days ago, but now the same attention pressed against her chest. The landlord concluded the meeting quickly. "Please, let us not repeat such a thing." And everyone dispersed slowly, whispering differently now. Not about Vida, but about Stella. Why did she edit the video? Was she jealous? She always talks too much. That night, Stella's phone vibrated constantly, but the tone was different now. "Why did you cut the video? You made it worse. That is not nice at all. It is devilish." Inside her room, Vida sat quietly and her phone vibrated too. But the messages were softer now. "Sorry about earlier. People judge too fast. Please forgive me. You handled it well." She placed the phone down. The next morning, children no longer bleated when she passed. Mama Banker greeted her normally. "Good morning, good morning." Meanwhile, Stella stayed inside longer than usual out of shame. Weeks later, something surprising happened. A small media page reached out to her privately. "We saw your video and the follow-up. Would you like to speak about online misrepresentation?" Vida stared at the message for a long moment. Months ago, she avoided attention, but now, attention had found her. She smiled and replied, "Yes." Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. Kindly give the story a thumbs up and share the story out with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye.